Good evening everyone. My name is Amit and I'm speaking to you from our center in Delhi, Ananda, Delhi. Sorry, I have to do a little bit things myself, so we'll do a brief meditation, just a very short, like for a minute or so. If you have any trouble hearing me or seeing me, just type in the chat window so that once we get started, it shouldn't be a big problem after that. Okay, so let's start this evening with a prayer. Just prayer gently with me, mentally. Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, friend, beloved God, great Gurus, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashay, Swami Shri Yukteswar, Paramahansa Yogananda Ji, saints and sages of all religions, humbly we bow to you all. Divine Masters, we invoke your presence in this evening. Guide our thoughts, guide our understanding. Help us to understand your teaching. Help us to touch the truth as you do. We are your children. Take us home. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Let's just take a brief moments of silence. Just slowly relax your mind. Bring your mind inside. Drop the day for the moment. Any thoughts, any distractions. Maybe it's been a long or short day. Just let ourselves prepare for the next part of this session. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So we start with the reading from Living Wisely, Living Well for today. This is, I am reading it from a phone. So Living Wisely, Living Well is a book that Swami Kriyananda Ji wrote, and we also have developed an app. And if you like it, it's a nice way to start your day also. There's a nice quote for every day, and then somehow that all could inspire your day also. So this is for today, February 20th. Encourage others in their efforts to improve themselves. But remember, they don't owe it to you to be better than they are. That debt is one they owe only to themselves. One more time, encourage others in their efforts to improve themselves. But remember, they do not owe it to you to be better than they already are. That debt is the one they owe only to themselves. When I think this will be a universal story, but I'll start with myself and then maybe you'll find some resonance in that. When I first came to Ananda and then I found this teaching, I was very enthusiastic about that. I was just so thrilled by everything which was just happening, and then everything which I was learning, and everything that the teachers were saying to me were making sense to me. And then I kept on going and I felt like this is exactly what I was looking for, and there was some very deep satisfaction I felt. And naturally with that, the urge also comes to share it with others. So I used to talk to my friends and my family, telling them what all I am doing, and then about this organization I go to. And while I had a very big job and a busy job at that time, nothing seemed to matter. I would just go and then have a very good time at that in the evening as soon as I'm done my work, and then everything what the teachers were telling me would make sense. Then we talked about, as most of you probably have also studied, the Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga, and then we studied that they talked about yamas and niyamas. Even those make sense. While there are a lot of do's and don'ts, I said, yes, that perfectly makes sense. Then they taught about non-violence. They said not only that physical violence is not a good idea, but even mental violence. I said, yes. Some things inside me was saying just yes to everything which was just offered. And I felt very fulfilled in that. And in that came also the desire that if this could be so fulfilling, and mind you, it's not that I had a difficult life or anything, but somehow this just added that entire thing which felt like nothing else can actually fulfill. So I said, if I can get such a satisfaction by this teaching, I must offer it to others. Such a very gentle and then very noble thought, isn't it? And I'm sure many of you will also have the same kind of a thought when you probably came to the path, or whichever path you follow, but most likely this one, and then you started reading this teaching. There's this natural urge comes inside us to share this with others. And that's a noble thing. I think we all agree with that. Now in that same nobility, I would try to share it with others. And then the first time, a humbling experience I had when I returned to India, and then this was the first time I went to a particular school. They invited us to do some courses there. And I started sharing the same thing which has touched me. I talked about myself, and I started talking about yamas and niyamas. But there were like a big frowns on their faces, and I didn't quite understand. So I told them a little bit more. I said how important it is to practice ahimsa, how important it is to be truthful. But they were just looking like, what is he saying? And then finally I asked them, like, don't you resonate? They said, absolutely not. And then I couldn't understand what was wrong in there. And then so I was, to be honest, very discouraged by that session. So I tried to prepare more when I went and presented the next yama and niyama to them. But it was again a disaster story. And I realized this is just becoming a mockery of a session. So later on I just dropped it, and then I pondered, okay, what is it going on? And they said, am I a bad teacher? And that also a phase went through where I thought maybe I'm not ready to teach anything and whatnot. But inevitably I realized that this is just not necessarily for everyone. What has touched me, why am I wanting that everybody else also get touched by that? And then comes also the judgment, they are not ready yet. No, there's also an arrogance in that thought, I later realized. But once all these things is just went through this own churning, then the settlement comes. Okay, now everyone has their journey. I can make an offering, but what will happen with that is not completely in my hand. Now, do you resonate with that story? How many times we read autobiography and then feel, oh, this is the book, I have to give it to everyone. And then you give it to your friend and says, what is this? What have you given to me? What are you reading? Are you all right? All of a sudden, the whole enthusiasm we have backfires at to us. And it's like, how can this dichotomy exist? And in itself, the intent to share is very noble. I think we have to continue on that. And that's what this reading starts with, that if there is something which is going to empower other people, if there is an inspiration you want to share, you must. But then comes the second part. Are you ready to take nothing in return? There is at least an expectation that I am offering you something good. You at least with a smile accept it. Even at times that won't be possible. Not only that, you in return you may get mockery. What are you ready for that? And this is the question we ask. And then what is the problem in there? It is not that whether we are ready or they are ready. When we offer something, it has an inherent assumption that it can be accepted. Even if we know that maybe they are not ready, maybe they are not interested, but our attachment sometimes to them just so clinging, so oh no, but you have to. And especially if it is our spouse or our mother, our friends, then we also expect a sort of acceptance from them, isn't it? So it's not as noble as we started with sharing. And that is what this reading is hinting at as well. You know, nobody, even if they are not doing the best according to the worldly terms, they don't owe it to anyone but themselves. If they want to improve, it is at their own condition. We think about ourselves, how many times if we read something preaching, we say, don't preach. As if I don't know all these things. When it comes from our heart, it becomes easier for us to follow it, isn't it? There's a story, you probably have heard this, about how a butterfly comes about. You know, it's sort of in a shell, and then when it becomes a butterfly, just before it comes out, it has to break the shell off. And it's a lot of struggle that the butterfly has to come before it actually takes that beautiful butterfly outside. Now this boy was watching. There was like a few, what do you call it? It's like the womb, and then the butterfly was struggling to come out, and he could see. Now the child could see that there is a struggle going on, and he waited and waited, and finally one of them broke apart. And then slowly the butterfly came out, and then it started flying, and then it flew away. He just felt that this is just not good. I can't stand this torment that the butterfly has to go through while the butterfly comes out of the shell. So he said the next shell, when the moment is some sort of movement started, and he saw, oh, the same kind of a struggle the butterfly is going through, what it did is, like, he just used her hand, and she broke the shell a little bit to help the butterfly to come out. And it did help, because the butterfly didn't have to do a lot of struggle, and then all of a sudden the butterfly came out. But then became what? The child was happy because she felt that she helped the butterfly came out without much of a trouble and all those kind of things. But the moment the butterfly came out, the butterfly was not able to fly. It tried, but there was not enough strength in that wing right away. And it just struggled. It struggled for quite a bit of time. And then the child realized the failure. Many times when we talk about helping someone, or even being an inspiration, encouraging someone, are we absolutely sure about what we are saying? You know, what was the problem with that child? Does the child didn't have a good intention? Of course, the child wanted to help the butterfly. But where did the child went wrong then? And assuming the way the creation had made, you know, there was an ignorance, there was an arrogance in terms of, I know it. If I can help, then the world will be better. There will be no suffering. How many times we say such noble thoughts? But really, what was it? The God, the creator who made that butterfly, who made the shell, that was a natural process. It was needed absolutely for the existence of that butterfly, for a healthy, enriched and enabled life. No, when we interfere with that, we didn't do a good job. Though our intentions were nice, we have to try a little harder, isn't it? And this is like a part of the things when we have too many assumptions. Where this is referring to is, you know, we at times have our own understanding, and even some things touched us, and then we feel that, oh, this is something I have understood and I have to share. But is that understanding complete in itself? Probably not. And that's why it is okay to share. But then also, before we share, we have to basically do our own homework in terms of understanding that this is not an absolute thing. Many times if you reflect that something that we say, oh, I used to think like this few years ago, and then now all of a sudden those which you used to be truth, or some things, our strong beliefs, they don't have any relevance to. We have changed. So then what is the guarantee that what we believe very strongly right now may not be refined in future? So it is directional in many ways. So whatever you feel inspired, it is good to share. But the point is, do not expect. And the expectation, it is easy to drop when we know that we could be wrong. We could be wrong. And more generally, when we talk about this, what is the principle that this teaching is talking about then, right? And it's talking about do your work, which is about sharing, which is about encouraging others, but don't expect them necessarily that they owe you. Now you have given them something to them, so they will give you back something. Does it resemble to something that we have learned in our studies of, for example, Raja Yoga? Yes, and this is Nishkam Karma. And Nishkam Karma is a very fundamental principle of Karma Yoga. And now I would like to just share some thoughts around that area itself, like, because again we all have heard this or said ourselves that Karma Yoga is probably very relevant to all of us, because in the traditional sense of Bhakti Yogi is not probably what we are. We don't do chanting day in and day out, neither our path necessarily that of just of contemplation as we in times visualize a Jnana Yogi could be. So we say karma, meaning we have to do action as we become part of this world. And that's why the path of Karma Yoga, and especially Nishkam Karma, becomes super relevant for us. Now, what is the point of Karma Yoga? That if you practice Karma Yoga perfectly, it leads to yoga, meaning it leads to union. And Patanjali, in his first couple of Yoga Sutras, has given a definition of what are we trying to achieve by yoga, or what is the definition of yoga. And what does he say? He says yoga is chitta vritti nirodh, neutralization of our vrittis. Anything which stops you, especially things which basically will take us out of ourselves, you neutralize them and you'll achieve union, or the neutralization of that vritti will help you achieve the union. Now, how does Karma Yoga, or to be more precise in this context of practicing Nishkam Karma, help us achieve yoga? And then again, so that is what we talk about, like, what is the point of Nishkam Karma? Does it say don't do karma or don't do anything, don't show any interest in the work? Absolutely not. It says don't worry about the fruits. And then at times when we look at that, in Hindi we say ki ha karm karo phal ki apeksha mat karo. Seems very dull, isn't it? Boring, like why am I even doing some task then? It is not like that at all, absolutely not. And then that's why this has to come from an understanding that we can give why even the fruits that we expect is probably not the fruits that we sometimes want. Nishkam Karma says that you have to do your action, and you have to do your action with absolute everything that you have got. And don't worry about the fruits. That is a much better way of looking at it than like, don't eat the fruits. It is not that if something comes to you as a result of your actions, you're going to deny it. But let's not worry about it. Because what happens, you see, when our mind is right there onto the fruits of our actions, we are not engaged in the action itself. Many a times we like to do something when we say, oh, it is my hobby, or this is something I like to do as a stress buster. What is the whole point of that is basically, for example, painting, or when you play music, the action itself is so engrossed, you don't care whether it is something that is come out of it or not. No? When an artist is doing a painting, if she always keeps on thinking, oh, it has to be beautiful, it has to be accepted and all those things, that will be such a boring process, isn't it? When you're playing music, you have to go with the flow and enjoy the music playing right then and that particular moment. Nishkam Karma says that the moment you start thinking about the fruits, you lost the present moment. You went somewhere in the future, you went into your own projections, you went into your own likes and dislikes and all the enchilada that comes along with that. Drop it, stay focused into what is there in front of you. And that is a very simple yet very profound principle of do the thing with entire your heart, but don't worry about the future, don't worry about the fruits. And at times, the fruits that will come to us could just be, they could be so different or so more profound than what our tiny minds are even capable of. There was a time when I went for a hike. I used to do a lot of hiking earlier, and especially also in the Himalayas and in the regions where in the Sahyadri area. Now Himalayas are very beautiful, very pretty. Sahyadris aren't necessarily like that. They are very dry, very hot. till the time you actually reach your destination, which generally used to be a temple or a cave. So I never really enjoyed that process. You know, I knew, where are we going? They say, oh, there's some beautiful temple there. How long is it going to take? And they will say, oh, 4 or 5 hours we have to walk in the sun. So that used to be a very exhaustive process for me. I would just always plan, okay, I'm in this one, okay, next is my stop is that tree. And then we just push ourselves to walk and whatnot till the time finally we reach that destination, which would be some nice cave, but we would be so tired by then we would just sleep, and then again you have to return the same arduous journey. But then this particular trek I went to, which just changed my entire perception. I went to Valley of Flowers. Some of you might have heard of that place. It is somewhere near the Badrinath area. Now there, when I went, and I had the same conception in mind. It's like, okay, what is my goal? Where I'm going to go there, and then only till that point I won't have any hesitation, or I won't look anywhere here or there. So I started going, and then after the base camp wherever we were, then we started our hike towards Valley of Flowers. And then it was not too far, half an hour we reached the valley. And then I asked the guide or whoever was with us, like, what is our destination? This says, there is no destination. You go wherever you want, wherever you like. This is the Valley of Flowers. There is no one particular place which is better than worse or better than anything else. And some things inside me just resonated, and I became so happy with that. And I ended up probably walking much more than what I normally go in other hikes and whatnot, just because everything I was doing, everywhere I was going, there was a beauty. And I didn't have to look for a particular destination or wait for the destination. Every step I was taking, it was becoming enjoyable. And I realized, why was I wasting all that time waiting for that one particular temple, which most of the times or many of the times I didn't even like. And in that anticipation, I lost the entire present, which was happening right here and right at this very moment. You know, that's what it is inside our hands. You know, the principle they say is like, live in the moment. We always talk about, even when we aspire something in spirituality or in our jobs or any wisdom, when we think, okay, I want to learn, the tendency, the way we work is, oh, it's always after something that you will get it, isn't it? And that's how we are trained to, I have to do this, and then I will do this today and that today, and then there's always this then. What next? There's always this next. We have this strong tendency, and we always realize that, okay, even when we are doing something, we always are preparing for something. You know, in our practice of meditation, what is it that we are trying to do? You know, we are trying to break this habit. We're breaking this habit of basically having some next. I will encourage these people and they will give me something back. No, we're just stopping. Can we just stop this and then say just is? You know, when Paramahansa Yogananda ji was asked by one of his students, ki, Master, when will all this thing end? When will I achieve the final liberation? To that, Yogananda ji's answer was, you have to go on till you achieve endlessness. He didn't say it ends. There is endlessness. The definition of God that Yogananda ji has given is like a circumference everywhere, center nowhere, circumference everywhere. We talk about time and then past and present and future and projections. When we stop going that, and that's where text work, like, who are we? We are is the only reality. Whatever we want to achieve, you know, like we will understand something, will become enlightened. Is this less present at this very moment? Let's say allow down the line 20, 30, 40 years, we will achieve something and big result. From now till that particular time is our life, and will life be less present now as compared to when it will be, whenever whatever we say will be enlightened or anything, isn't it? At times when we speak like this, it seems like, oh, life wakes up in the morning and says, oh, I don't want to be with Amit today because he's just too grumpy and is not interested. Let's take a break. No. Is it like that? You know, when the sun comes early in the morning, it's the same old, isn't it? It's the same. There is a rhythm in the nature, and then there is nothing intellectually challenging about that, interesting about that, but it is happening every day. Is the life becoming present every day? Yes. Look at the tree. Does it say like, oh, I'm bored of it? Who says that I'm bored? Who says I am this is the same and same old thing? It is our mind primarily. And while our mind is saying that, is the life still present inside ourselves? It is, isn't it? But mind says, okay, yes, the life is present, but what next to do? And this is a habit that keeps happening. When we talk about Nishkam Karma, when we talk about Karma Yoga, we say like, I don't need to worry about what is I'm going to do next, because what I'm going to do now will take care of the next in itself. And that's why Yogananda ji says like, do everything with the thought of God. There is a place for thinking, but just whenever, whatever, however trivial thing we are doing, it is not that our meditation is a practice which is going to take us closer to God, and not making chai or having chai or just walking is not going to. What is going to take us closer to that reality is we going closer to that reality. And how do we go closer to that reality? Is stopping this whole projection business, stopping this whole what next, stopping this whole thing about what will this bring to me, because what is going to come to you is going to come anyway. So what we do is just be. And that's why they talk about I am is a complete sentence in itself, you know. And that's why we forget in our main meditation practice when we talk about Hong Saw, I am that. This is the time when we break that habit, you know, because even in our meditations, the mind reveals this tendency that we talk about. It comes and says, oh, let's think about something else. And something inside us just resonates with that. Oh, let's go, because we know. It is important to know what comes next, isn't it? That is our habit. And does it serve us? No. We can play this game for some time. What we lose in that is the touch to the present moment. Think about the time when somebody asks you, tell me which were the most precious moments in your life. You don't have to think too hard, isn't it? But we can go back and think about some moments. Oh, that was a special time when I touched my child with my hand, wasn't it? That was a very special moment when my beloved says, yes, I love you too. We remember those moments. What does make those moments special moments? One of the things is we are not thinking for what is going to happen next after that times. Our minds, our hearts, our entire being is present that moment. Looking at that beautiful child who just come out of her mother's womb. Looking into the eyes of your beloved. You are 100% present. And that is what the Karma Yoga just says, be 100% present, because if you are 100% present, there is no next, there is no need to look into there. The next will come when it is, and we will look at it with our 100% attention, you know. And that's what is said, like, just do your work, future will take care of itself. Bringing it back to where our reading goes. And then the same thing, when we want to share something with the people, make it as an offering. You see, that in itself is an act. But if it is conditioned by, oh, and then it is going to create troubles to us, it just may bring a lot of disappointment to us. And more importantly, it just brings us out of our own self while we are even doing that particular deed. So this is the last thought I would like to share, which is about a story from the life of Master Paramahansa Yogananda ji, when he was running a school, and at that time He also had lots of animals with him, and then one of them was a deer, and he loved the deer, and then all the children also loved the deer. And when Yoganandaji was away, the deer was overfed by his students and whatnot. And then so he came back all of a sudden when they say, oh, this deer is not going good. And then he said it is overfed and it was almost about to die. So he started doing a lot of prayers and then he brought, because he was a powerful person, his prayers did have a lot of impact. And so, good news, the deer survived. The deer survived and Master went to sleep, everybody went to sleep. And in that night, Paramahansa Yoganandaji had a dream. And in that dream, the same deer came. And he said, like, what are you doing? My job here on the planet is done. I have to move on. I have to continue with my own progression. And all of a sudden, then Paramahansa Yoganandaji woke up and he realized, no, this is his own personal desire to have the companionship, to the company of that deer, was holding that deer from his own evolution. And so as the story ends, Yoganandaji was circumstantially taken away the next day, and then here the deer again becomes a little ill and leaves the body. Leaving the body on an earthly realm is never a good thing, isn't it? We all feel very sad. We don't know. The point of this story is multifold, but for today's discussion, we don't know what is exactly good for someone, what is good for ourselves is also, we are not entirely 100% certain. But that's what we can say. It's not that we just fold our hands and sit till we become self-realized and then we all of a sudden will have everything to share with the world. But no, we make it an offering, but with a pinch of salt. And say like, this could be good for them, they could accept it, they could refuse it, but it is entirely up to us to make that offering and then thank you for God, not for making them accept it, but just allowing us to have something worthwhile sharing, and then making it possible to making an offering to someone else, and then the rest is up to them. Everyone has their own journey and own path. Do your work to the best of your capacity at this very moment and on all the time, and then the rest will unfold. Whether we like it or not, it doesn't matter. And whenever it unfolds, accept it with all great humility, all your interest, and take your next step from there. Joy to you. Thank you for sharing this evening with us. Next Wednesday, we will again be with you. Joy to you.